Welcome back to the Junkie Sports Podcast today. So we have a really special episode coming right at you guys. So we are going to do our all-star predictions for the 2020-2021 NBA season. So with a really unique year here with COVID, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all-star game plays out, if it gets played. There's lots of conversations going on that it might end up happening. Who knows on that front, but we're still going to come at you guys with our predictions for the all-star nods. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead, kick it off in the Eastern Conference with the starters. Davis, go ahead. Give us your Eastern Conference all-star stars. And also, by the way, listeners, we are making a collective list here, so we will have a little debate going back and forth as we make our Junkie Sports all-star predictions. Davis?
Okay, so for the team captain, I think this one should be unanimous. I don't think it should be highly contentious. I'm going Joel Embiid. Or you might have been thinking I was about to say Kevin Durant.
I thought you were for sure going to say Kevin Durant.
No, so I mean both of these players are obviously in the MVP consideration, along with LeBron and Nikola Jokic at this point. I think those are kind of like the front runners, I would say. But Joel Embiid has elevated his game another notch, and you can see quite evidently whenever Joel Embiid is sitting out for the 76ers for one reason or another, their team is significantly worse without him. And so, I mean, that's more of a consideration for MVP, but I still think, they have the best record out in the East right now. Joel Embiid is the anchor. He's elevated his game defensively. He's averaging 28 points. He's pretty much has career highs in everything, any significant statistical categories. I do think Kevin Durant absolutely, should be in that conversation. But at the end of the day, Joel Embiid is my team captain.
Yeah, I think Joel Embiid, I mean, you kind of said it. I mean, he's playing outstanding this year. So I have Kevin Durant as the team captain. For me, it's when it comes down to it, for me, I kind of look at it for team captain as like the best player in the conference. And it's just sort of my personal thing of how I feel like that captain sort of gets selected. I know a lot of it's like the votes and stuff, but I mean, last year it was Giannis and LeBron. I mean, those were the best players in their respective conferences. And so that's just why I have Kevin Durant playing fantastic. Nets been struggling a little bit last few games with their team chemistry a little bit, but that's just why I have Kevin Durant. But I will say I 100% am behind Embiid being captain because he's absolutely hilarious, and watching them pick their teams I think would be so funny. So I am for it. Joel Embiid, I'm cool with that being the Junkie Sports Media prediction as team captain.
All right, perfect. So do you want to just go one by one for our next starters?
Yeah, we can do that.
So
I feel like we have two that are pretty, at minimum two, I feel like are pretty safe.
So we'll rip off the Band-Aid with those two safe ones. We were just talking about Kevin Durant. He's one of them, and then Giannis is the other.
Yep.
So, I mean, we kind of touched on it as much as possible briefly, but Kevin Durant, we haven't really seen someone come back from a major Achilles injury like he has. And, he's back in full form, if not better than what we've seen from him in the past. So, I mean, Kevin Durant should be a no-brainer here. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo, same thing. I mean, two-time reigning MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all yada, yada, yada. He's still a force to be reckoned with, fan favorite, NBA fan favorite, and he's for sure getting in there. So now on to some of the spicier picks. So we have a center and two forwards. So we're looking for two guards here, right? So my first one is going to be Jaylen Brown.
I also have Jaylen Brown playing absolutely fantastic this year. By the way, a sneaky most improved player candidate? I don't know. He's up there. He's been playing absolutely incredible. But go ahead. Who's your other?
And then my other pick is Bradley Beal.
I also have Bradley Beal.
Nice. Okay, so we had a lot of synergy going into that first round.
Perfect.
I mean, let's if you want to talk about Jaylen Brown, go ahead, and then I'll talk a little bit about Bradley Beal.
Yeah, as a minor Celtics fan, I have watched a lot of Boston's games this year. ladies and gentlemen, Jaylen Brown has been playing out of his mind. I don't think people understand how insane the numbers he's been putting up this season, and with remarkable efficiency. He had 33 points in 19 minutes. That's absurd. Like that's like Klay Thompson absurd. I mean, he was just playing ridiculous. He's also fantastic on the defensive end. He's an incredible two-way player. Not only is his game elevated with Jason Tatum off the court, when Jason Tatum had COVID-19, but together, I mean, they're one of the best duos in the NBA, and I think people should be really scared for a long time. I know there are a lot of people who are like harping on Danny Ainge and the Celtics for not potentially trading Jaylen Brown for like Anthony Davis with like the Pelicans thing, and there's also talks about they refuse to trade him or Jason Tatum for James Harden and all that. Well, guess what? I think they put all their eggs in one basket and said, we're all in on Jaylen Brown, and it's paying off. Dude's been incredible.
Yeah, and he's definitely been improving defensively too. He's also another candidate that could be a dark horse, towards the end of the season for a defensive all-star team, or no, not defensive all-star team,
All NBA.
All NBA team rather.
Yep.
But yeah, going on to Bradley Beal, I mean, this man was the snub of the century last season in terms of the all-stars.
Facts.
And, he's continued to elevate his game. He's averaging 35, 5-5, leading the league in scoring. Yes, his team is not finding ways to win games. He scores 60 points and they still find a way to lose. Get this man traded, get him out of there. But at the end of the day, the All-Star game is a way to recognize individual player performance. And Bradley Beal absolutely deserves that. And I can't wait to see more from him once Washington might be out of the picture, is all I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So why don't you go ahead and rattle off our starters before we move on to the reserves?
So our starters for the East are Joel Embiid as the captain. Then we have our backcourt of Bradley Beal and Jaylen Brown, and our wings are Giannis and Kevin Durant.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the reserves. I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off. So my first reserve that I kind of have listed, these aren't necessarily in order, but I would say this player's definitely at the top. I have Kyrie Irving, playing incredible this year, averaging 27-ish, 28-ish, somewhere around there. But he's been playing fantastic. Offensively, he's always been a gifted player. So, yeah, to me, he's an easy pick for Eastern Conference reserve player. And you're about to tell me you didn't put him on your list.
Okay, so there's one key reason why I didn't put him on my list, and that was just due to him missing some games earlier this season. I didn't really know how that would bode in terms of the All-Star voting and whatnot. I feel like he's not necessarily a fan favorite. He's kind of a love-or-hate player. But in terms of if we're predicting like what players are going to be able to get in, I think if there's two Nets players getting in, James Harden's getting in over Kyrie Irving at this moment.
I think all three of them are going to get picked.
I wouldn't be surprised. I definitely
and that's why I have all three on my list. I think just the talent they bring to the floor, I think all three of them are going to end up being selected. But go ahead.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he is kind of one of my fringe borderline type of players for making, one of these reserve teams. So, let's just keep seeing who we have, and then we can settle on a solid 7 at the end. But my next player that I have on my reserves is Colin Sexton. So
I don't have Colin Sexton.
You don't have Colin Sexton.
No.
So the Cavaliers are blowing away expectations. Last season, they had one of the worst defenses in the league. And this season they definitely have turned that around, especially thanks to some of the efforts by, an undersized Colin Sexton at the shooting guard position, but also Larry Nance, Andre Drummond. They've kind of been holding down the fort and really been turning around some of the culture there in Cleveland. And, talk about most improved player candidates. This is definitely one of them. And, I just really like recognizing and giving accolades to players that are helping change the dynamic around their team, helping, put their name in the conversation. And Colin Sexton has been red hot as you could be to get this season started. And I just think he deserves a little love.
Let me think about it for a minute, because I had some reasons why I left Colin Sexton off my list. The other players I just think are better at the end of the day. And so let's wait on that for now because I might change my mind. We'll see. So, but I'll go ahead and rattle off my next one. Jason Tatum. Do you have him?
I do have Jason Tatum.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, he's been out for a couple weeks with COVID, but I mean, outside of that, he's been magnificent. Honestly, if if he played the like full season and he was like in his groove, he could have been fighting for a starting spot. I'm not saying he would have gotten it, but I mean, he's been playing very well. And I think Kendrick Perkins, who doesn't always have the best takes, but I believe he said the other day that offensively, Jason Tatum has no holes in his game. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that, but he has been absolutely fantastic offensively this season. Continue to be one of the best scorers in the game. And so, yeah, I think he's an easy pick for a reserve there.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I mean, career high, about 27 points per game so far, shooting incredibly efficiently, over 43% from the three. Um, at high volume too, over 7 attempts per game from three too. But yeah, I mean, talk about a clutch player, a player that can help take over a franchise. I mean, him and Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown only becomes a starter this season because of some of the absence that Jason Tatum
Jason
has
Tatum.
had.
Yeah.
So if they're both playing every game, I don't know how this conversation would change. If both of them will get in, if neither of them will get in. But either way, I mean, Jason Tatum's a very good pick here. So I'll get into my next pick, and that's Zach LaVine. Is he on your list?
Zach LaVine is on my list.
Nice. I love to hear it. So, I mean, another player that's elevated his game, each season he's improved pretty significantly. And last year he was averaging 25 points per game. The season before 23 and a half. Now he's up to 27 and shooting incredibly efficiently. He's almost in that 50-40-90 if he can just make a couple more free throws. He's currently shooting 88% from the free throw. But the rest of his shooting splits are 51% from the field and 42% from three. I mean, he's a guy that is helping. He's doing everything he can in Chicago, is all I'll say.
That's a good way to put it.
The new GM, the new ownership, they're definitely evaluating which players they want to keep on their roster, over the next 5-10 years and kind of, playing around with different rosters, but they've also found ways to blow leads miraculously this season, but they still have a better record than I would have given them credit for going into this season. And that's pretty much all due to Zach LaVine. So I think he definitely deserves a little love. And that would be a guy who has not previously ever made an all-star team.
Yeah, without a doubt, he deserves it this year. He's been playing incredible. He pretty much wrapped it up nice. Real quick before I get my next one, are we saying James Harden is a reserve? We kind of talked about it. Okay, I just want to make sure before. I don't want to bring him up if we already had him written down on our list. So, but the next player I have is Domantas Sabonis.
He's
been playing fantastic. Honestly, kind of playing like a little baby Jokic out there. I mean, he's been dropping some dimes. I don't know. He's been kind of nice with it. But I mean, Indiana's been hooping a little bit this season. I think they're going to get even way better if whenever Karis LeVert comes back healthy. Karis LeVert's nasty. People don't realize he's on my fantasy team. He's disgusting. But the Indiana's been playing pretty solid ball this year, and Sabonis has been the driving force behind that roster. So yeah, I think he definitely deserves to be a reserve for the second year in a row.
Yeah, I was a little torn with putting Sabonis on my list because I also wanted to show Malcolm Brogdon a little bit of love.
Okay.
And so I didn't know if I wanted to put them both on there or just, to try to pick one between the two. It's hard to pick between those two. But I did go with Sabonis for a lot of the same reasons that you did. And I mean, I don't think something that makes Indiana very dangerous as a team is there's not, yes, Sabonis should be an all-star this season, But that being said, I don't think it's a clear 1, 2, 3 type of situation going on there because, they can score from the inside, they can score from the outside. They have a lot of different looks. Miles Turner's a great player. Like you said, Karis LeVert, when he comes back, he's going to be in the rotation. That's just deadly. And I mean, Indiana fans have a lot to be happy about right now. And Sabonis is extremely young. So, a guy that we were kind of sleeping on going into this season saying, okay, I don't know how much more we can expect from him. Maybe we've already seen his ceiling, but no, he's proven the haters wrong. And so let's give him some recognition.
Exactly.
We're willing to admit on Junkie Sports Media when we were wrong, and we were wrong about Domantas Sabonis.
All right, so who's your next reserve?
My next reserve is Ben Simmons. Was he on your list?
He's not on my list. Well, okay, so we have 4 set right now, correct?
Yeah,
Reserves.
We have Harden, Tatum, Levine, and Sabonis.
Will you rattle off all of your next 3?
So
Your
I had
last 3.
Colin Sexton, Ben Simmons, and Bam Adebayo.
Okay, because I need to do some thinking while you explain. So go ahead. Why do you have Ben Simmons?
I am okay with putting Kyrie in here for the record. So
here, I'll rattle off my 3 so you can also at least have a perspective. So I have Kyrie, I have Trae Young, and I have Bam. To me,
okay, so Bam's a lot.
I don't know, because even though we both have them,
for our list.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even though we both have him, I'm trying to decide: is there someone I would rather take his spot, such as a Ben Simmons, because Bam was last on my reserve list. So that would be the one spot for me that I would look to trade someone in or out.
Colin Sexton was the last on my list. But
so here, tell me Ben Simmons. Why do you have Ben Simmons on your list?
So, I mean, as we've reiterated on just about every episode, we have sweet spots for defensive players, guys that can do a little bit of everything. This is a scoring dominant league, but at the end of the day, Ben Simmons does a lot of things that don't show up on the stats that make them a better team. And yes, he struggles whenever to take over the games whenever Joel Embiid is out. But kind of with the rise of Tobias Harris has been playing excellent this season so far, shooting extremely efficiently. But I mean, Ben Simmons, I don't think at this point in his career, we should be expecting him to be taking over the scoring role and whatnot whenever Joel Embiid is out. So I don't know. I don't really have a problem with his lack of scoring production a whole lot because of what he brings on the defensive side. And he's, I think elevated his game in a lot of areas outside of the scoring efficiency. And he is taking more threes this season. He's up to 0.3 attempts per game over the 0.1 that he's had in the past. Just throw that out there. Maybe he's getting a little bit more cerebral as a player. Get a little bit.
So for my 3, so Kyrie, I mean, I've already given that explanation, but he's the top for me. Then Trae's my middle. Although Trae's having a slightly down year right now compared to last year. He started off strong this year, but he's been struggling a little bit of late. But I mean, he's still averaging 27 and 8.5 assists a game. I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I'm no statistician or anything, but those sound like some pretty good numbers to me. But I mean, Trae Young was also a starter last year. And a lot of that was because Kyrie was out and injured, and there weren't any other really big name guards that sort of stepped up. But I just think to go from a starter in the Eastern Conference not even being on the list when you're still averaging excellent numbers, and when these numbers are down numbers for you, I mean, that kind of says something about how good of a player you are. And so for me, I feel like Kyrie and Trae are 2 guys that really deserve it. But I'm very, very flexible with the Bam lock or the Bam selection. So if you're okay with Kyrie and Trae, I'm cool with whoever you want instead of Bam.
So, okay, I think
for me, if I compare Trae to Colin Sexton, Trae Young's had a better season. Let me rephrase that. Trae Young has had a better season, but for their improvement in respective games, of course, Colin Sexton has played amazing for what people expected of him this season. Trae Young's been a little bit of a letdown, but I think at the end of the day, it's when I'm sort of struggling with two selections, at the end of the day, it's like I got to go with a better player, and to me, that's Trae Young.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think Ben Simmons needs to be recognized on our list for the fact that the 76ers have the best record in the
That's
league.
true.
They should have two players making the All-Star game. And honestly, I think Tobias Harris has every right to be in the conversation as well. But I'm really not about having Trae Young on this list,
It's gonna be
because
really awkward when he gets selected, and you're just gonna be like, "Oh wow." I just don't understand the Trae Young hate.
it's
He's
not
averaging 27 and 8.5 assists a game.
4 turnovers a game. He's shooting not very efficiently, 42% from the field. That's down from previous years. 3-point field goals per game is down compared to previous seasons. His rebounds are down from last season. He's just, I don't know. I'm not saying I hate Trae
I
Young.
agree.
I
I
just
agree.
don't
He's having a
play.
down year
I
compared to
think
last year and what
he's
people
having the
expected.
Andrew Wiggins effect.
I don't know about that.
He is benefiting greatly from being on a bad team. And I think it's safe to say that the Hawks, I know they're 10-9. They have a winning record right now,
Yeah,
but
and
they started off
all
they
their new
started out a
pieces have
lot
been
better.
injured.
They
All
started
their
out
new
a
pieces
lot
have been.
better.
Yeah, but it's because all their new pieces have been injured.
I
They haven't been
understand.
playing.
I understand. So
I
that
I
doesn't that
can't
strengthen
imagine a world where Trae Young doesn't get where Trae Young doesn't get his All-Star nod over Colin Sexton.
what's with the Colin Sexton hate?
Colin Sexton.
He's at 24 points a game on incredible efficiency, 43% from three, over 50% from the field. I think he has every right to be there. He has half the amount of turnovers.
He has a right to be in the conversation, but unless Trae Young gets injured or plays drastically worse for the next few weeks or whatever, couple months or whatever it is, or Colin Sexton just continues to elevate his game, I just still think there's a gap there.
Do you think, because I'm looking at their stat logs for the season, I think it's safe to say if Colin Sexton had the same amount of free throw attempts per game, I think you would consider him a much better player than Trae Young.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, he has about half. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's
but that's part of the game. He
that
doesn't
puts him
attack
up
like
to
Trae
the
Young
same
does.
amount of points per game.
But it's not part of his game, is what I'm saying. Like there's a reason there's a free throw gap there. It's because he's not trying to draw fouls as much as Trae Young is. That's part of Trae Young's game because Trae Young shoots 88% from the free throw line.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're scoring more efficiently around the anywhere on the court than Trae Young, then why do you need to be trying to force free throws?
Because they're free points.
Okay, let's just go to a league in the NBA in the future where all the NBA is just driving into the lane, shooting free throws because they're free. I don't know. I just have always hated that part of the game. I really do.
I mean, I'm not saying I love it, but it's part of the game. Like, you're a professional athlete. Your job's to win. Your job is to exploit what you can. And if that means there's gaps in the rules that are set out and you're able to exploit it to draw fouls, you should, because it's competition. You're trying to be competitive. You're getting paid to win games. And so at the end of the day, like, I understand why people wouldn't like it, but like, it's their job to do this. Like, it's they get paid to do this. So
I know, but
I don't know.
I'm just saying those free throws are hyperinflating the stats. And if you bring Trae Young's free throw attempts per game to, 5.5, which is what Colin Sexton has per game, which is still pretty good for a guard, I would say, in this league.
Do you think Colin Sexton is a better player than Trae Young?
Yes. If I'm starting a franchise, I'm taking Colin Sexton.
No, that's not a franchise. At the end of the day, that's not a franchise. I mean, I don't know. I guess that kind of says it too. I'd still be mind boggled. But you think Colin Sexton is a better player than Trae Young?
I think he helps his team.
We have listeners, Davis. We have.
Yes,
listeners.
Colin Sexton is much better on defense. We've talked about defense in the past, David. Trae Young does not know how to play defense. If anything, he got worse at defense.
So if if you are going to get paid $1 million to select the better player, you're going to choose Colin Sexton over Trae Young?
To help me win a game, yeah. But again, this is a team game. You just can't surround a player with horrible defense with great defensive players that also have offensive production and go to the championship. That's not a recipe for success because there's not a lot of players in this league that are able to have that high level of defensive play and the offensive play to make up for Trae Young's lack of defense.
Trae, oh my gosh.
At the end of the game, who would you rather be taking the shot?
Trae Young every single time. There's no way. Colin Sexton. Keep
saying his name.
You know what? You heard it right here. You heard it here first. This is going to be the best season of Colin Sexton's career. He will never put up better stats in this season. You heard it.
Why? He went from
it's
his third season. He's still so young. Don't demolish Sabonis. So
is Trae Young. What? I mean, Trae Young's averaging better numbers than him, and he's very young as well.
Because he shoots a lot more. Yeah, I agree. Worse efficiency. I'd rather have a player that, when they're shooting it, you have a higher probability that shot goes in. I would.
I don't know, Davis. Sounds like a little double standard when you said Devontae Graham should win most improved player shooting like 40% from the field.
Okay, half of that was because he was in the G League the year prior.
So
that's a big improvement.
That's a very massive inefficiency there.
But he also had like 6-game winners. Like there's a lot to factor in that decision for me.
All right. I'll let you choose Colin Sexton for the list, but
no, I think we should go
this, Davis.
I don't think either of them. I think we should go Bam and Ben Simmons. You agreed we need a second 76ers boy. Did you not?
I would choose. No, I think Ben Simmons should be on the list. I'm trying to think if I would rather have Bam or Colin Sexton. You think Bam?
Well, we need another center.
Do we?
I mean,
do reserves count centers? I don't know if they do. Do they?
I don't know. I mean, they're gonna want a balanced team.
Joe Embiid ain't gonna be out there very long. That man's gonna be huffing and puffing.
I know.
All right, yeah, let's do Bam then. We'll do Bam, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie.
Do we want to talk about some of our honorable
other snubs? Yeah. I have a few. So, this one is not a snub for me, and I know he might be for a lot of people. I kind of think it's. I don't know. To me, there's so many other players that would be more deserving. But I know a lot of people may talk about Julius Randle. He's not on my list by any means. No. I think Gordon Hayward is a definite honorable mention. He's been playing fantastic. Chris Middleton, as always, he's always up there. You already talked about Malcolm Brogdon as well. To me, those are three guys that are definitely in that conversation.
You could also add Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum.
CJ's in the West.
Yep, you're right. Andre Drummond. Yeah, those are pretty much my snubs.
Perfect. All right. Do you want to?
We put Kyrie in there, right? Or am I tripping?
We had Kyrie, Ben Simmons, and Bam.
Okay. So our reserves are rounded out as such for the East. We have James Harden, Jason Tatum, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, Bam Adebayo, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving. That's a good group.
All right. We'll have to see if if those predictions come to fruition.
Also, if Joel Embiid is the captain, he's for sure taking Ben Simmons over Trae Young just because he plays on the team.
Well, it's not up to him. If Trae Young would have to make the roster. They pick from the All-Star list.
I know.
Yeah, but if we're saying Trae Young's not going to be an All-Star. I will say this, though. LeBron, assuming LeBron's probably going to be the captain in the West, Ben Simmons is his guy. Remember that trade he made for him? Was a couple years ago? So, I don't know. Keep an eye out for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. So with that, that wraps up our Eastern Conference All-Star predictions. We're gonna do a quick break and then hit you guys with the West.